Hello everyone. So today in English we will continue learning about adjectives. Today we will focus on adjective words that tells us how a noun smell or sounds. Let's review what we learned yesterday. We learned that an adjective can describe the way a noun looks, smells, sounds, tastes, or feels, or also how many there are. And yesterday we focused on how adjectives are used to describe the way a noun looks. Then we also played a game of I Spy. Were you able to play this game with your family? We're going to play another round of I Spy as part of review. So let's begin. I spy with my eyes something that is green. I spy with my eyes something that is thin. I spy with my eyes something that is green, thin, and also wiggly. Were you able to figure out what object it is? Well, the last sentence is, I spy with my eye something that is green, thin, wiggly, and long. The correct answer is this bubble wand. Yay! All right. Just like the game we played, adjectives can describe the way a noun looks. And this is very important because it makes writing or a story more interesting and clear. Let's take a look at this sentence, for example. The cat caught a fish. This is a very simple sentence and it doesn't tell us much about the cat. And it doesn't answer the question, what kind? To make this more interesting, we're going to add adjectives to the nouns. We have two nouns, cat and fish. So what kind of cat? What kind of cat? I'm going to say it's an orange cat. The orange cat caught a what kind of fish? Blue fish. So now, ta-da! We can clearly imagine and picture in our head how this cat might look like. It makes the cat more interesting, and that's why adjectives are important. And a good writer knows how to use adjectives to make the story more interesting. Let's take a look at these two sentences. Paul Bunyan is a lumberjack who cuts down trees. Paul and his ox Babe lives in Minnesota. Now, these two sentences make him sound like some random guy chopping down some trees. Nothing so interesting about him, right? Now, let's take a look at the second choice. Paul Bunyan is a skinny lumberjack who cuts down short trees. Paul and his red ox Babe lives in Minnesota. Someone who has never read or heard about Paul Bunyan is now going to think, Paul Bunyan is a skinny man who cuts down short trees. And maybe because he's so skinny, he's not strong enough to chop down tall and big trees. Well, let's take a look at number 3. Choice number 3. Paul Bunyan is a giant lumberjack who cuts down tall trees. Paul and his blue ox Babe lives in Minnesota. Does this sound familiar? Now someone who reads this can imagine that Paul is a giant man who's so big that he can cut down really tall trees. And his ox is blue, not red. So did everybody see how a writer can change the story by adding different adjectives? That is why adjectives are important. It has the power to change Paul Bunyan from the skinny lumberjack to a giant lumberjack. And we should all know that number 3 is actually the correct story. Today we'll learn about adjective words that describes how the noun smells or sounds. Let's look at this picture. We see two children on a camping trip, and right now it's just a picture, and all you can see is something you see with your eyes. Now imagine that you are on a camping trip with your family. What are the sounds that you hear? What scents can you smell? And ask yourself, what kind? to tell how a noun looks, smells, or sounds. So maybe you can smell something sweet, something smoky, or fresh. That sounds like a very nice camping trip. Or you can smell something stinky and burnt. And that does not sound like a good camping trip, and I don't want to go to that camping trip if it's going to be that stinky. Then what about the sound? You may hear the crackling of the firewood, or your laughing friend, and the buzzing bees. Or you may hear something howling and screeching in the woods. And that doesn't sound too great either. It sounds a little too scary. So that's how adjectives can describe nouns and completely change the story. Now let's move on to worksheet page 231. All right, so smell and sound. We learned that an adjective is a word that describes a noun, and it can answer the question what kind by telling what a noun smells or sounds like. We also learned that adjectives can tell us how a noun looks like. Let's look at these two examples. We did not eat the stinky fruit. What kind of fruit? Stinky. So now we know that this fruit smells stinky. What about this one? The loud band marched in the parade. What kind of band? It is the loud band. So now we know the band sounds very loud. So moving on, let's finish this side of the worksheet. For numbers 1 through 4, you're going to draw a box around the adjective that answers the question, what kind? Number 1, the family sat around the smoky fire. So the fire is underlined for us. So what kind of fire is it? The answer is smoky fire. Very good. Number 2, the roasted hot dog was cooked over the fire. Now, the noun hot dog is underlined, but what kind of hot dog? The roasted hot dog. Number 3, a noisy truck went past my house. The noun is truck in this sentence, but what kind of truck? Noisy truck. Number 4, its screeching tires woke me up. The noun tires is underlined. What kind of tires? Screeching tires. Excellent. Now let's move on to number 5 and 6. Mark the sense that the adjective uses. So sentence number 5, the small book fell onto the floor. The book is the noun that is underlined in this sentence, and small is the adjective that describes this book. But how is it describing the book? Is it talking about how the book smells? Is it talking about how the book looks or how it sounds? What's the correct answer? It's talking about how the book looks like, so it is look. Number 6, Mike opened the squeaky door. So door is the noun and squeaky is the adjective that talks about this door. Is it telling us how the door smells or looks or sounds? The correct answer is squeaky means the sound of the door. Very good. I want you to complete the rest on your own. And for number 7, 8, and 9, you're going to write about a dog. So this dog does not have to be a real dog. It could be a real puppy, but it does not have to be, and you can use your imagination to create your own dog. And you're going to write adjectives for how the dog looks, how it smells, or what sound it makes. And you'll move on to the back page and complete the rest on your own. Now, after you're done, I want you to challenge yourself by writing 3 or more sentences about your dog in your journal. And for this activity, I sent you guys this chart of adjectives of the 5 senses. And this chart does not have all the adjectives in the world, but it does have this long list of all these adjectives that you can use for this journal. You can also add in your journals about maybe other objects or living things that your dog might be looking at or smelling or listening to. It could be something that the dog is wearing or eating. So I want you to be very creative and imaginative and write your little story. If you're able to complete this in your journal and when you bring it back to school, I will give you guys 1 sticker for completing your assignment. If you already wrote your journals, and that's okay, you do not have to erase your journals and write it again. I will not take any points off for that. So that was the lesson about today's adjective. We learned how adjectives can describe how a noun can sound and smell. And tomorrow we'll learn more about adjectives and how it can describe a noun, how it tastes, or how it feels. So until tomorrow, keep yourself safe. Goodbye, everyone.